I think now the programming has changed dramatically. I guess being older, we're a little bit more wiser and we look at things differently. The programming that we were doing back then, someone who was a little bit older than us was probably looking at the programming the way we're looking at the BET programming today. Of course, the content of the music has changed. The content of the videos has changed. Back in the day, you would have never seen a whole bunch of butts shaking, on the network. That was just something that was against the BET policy because we were a family-oriented station. Now, since the station is geared more towards the teens and people are a little bit more open to certain things, they do things a little bit different than we would have done in the past.
I definitely feel that way. And by the way, I'm only 22 years old, so I was like 3, 4, 5. So when I was a little kid, I used to just sit in front of the TV and just watch BET and Video Soul like it was mandatory. And like my mom used to tell me that was the only way I could shut up on Saturday mornings while she was cleaning.
Well, I can honestly say back in the day, there used to be a time where we wouldn't play a Luke video. And I'm quite sure Luke can attest to this. We wouldn't play a Luke video because of the content of that was in the video as well as the song. But now, it seems to be no problem with playing videos like that.
Because looking at it now, his songs and his videos are mild compared to what's out now.
Oh, it's unbelievable. But he set the presence and he set the stage for, people to be able to produce videos like that. But it's just amazing to see how time has changed. Sometimes I wonder, is it really hurting us? It really is no question. I know it's hurting somebody, but where are we headed?
And speaking of where are we headed, now do you think that there will be a balance in good music and music that they're marketing towards kids? Because I feel nowadays you have good artists out there, but rarely do they get played on mainstream radio, and you have acts like Talib Kweli and The Roots that are critically acclaimed and have an underground buzz, but not pushing the big mainstream like numbers or getting the mainstream spins on commercial radio.
I think when it comes to, what's being played on commercial radio is what the executives at the record companies are pushing these days. People thought that hip-hop would never live this long. People thought that hip-hop was just a fad. Now it's gotten to the point to where you can't make a song unless you have a hip-hop beat or a hip-hop artist to complement it. It's almost like Patti LaBelle and Big Daddy Kane. That song would have never been a hit if Big Daddy Kane had not appeared in the song. But hip-hop is definitely dominating the airwaves today. That's what the kids buy. That's what the people want to hear. And unfortunately, the dollar drives the record companies, and so right now that's what's selling and that's what they're putting out there.
And for those of you that don't know, that song that we're referring to, Patti LaBelle, Big Daddy Kane, feels like another one. And we have Mr. Teddy Riley to thank for the current meshing of hip-hop and R&B, which he did back in the 80s and early to mid-90s with New Jack Swing, which later ran into hip-hop soul. Now, what was, in your opinion, that made that sound so special and unique that it was like old folks can kind of get to it? Because you had some urban AC artists that jumped on board the New Jack Swing sound, and then you had the acts like Guy, I'll Be Sure, New Edition.
It was something fresh, and that beat was hot. It was the beat. It was hot. It was something that was different. It stood out from the rest. When you look at other artists, versus what Teddy Riley busted out with, it was something that was fresh.
It was definitely one of those type of sounds where if you're planning on going to your local high school dance after the football game, you and your boys and your girls begin the dance routine together. So when the DJ dropped that joint, y'all could just rock it. Do it like nobody's business. And also, too, you don't get this nowadays. It was back during that time where you can kind of sneak in maybe one or two slow records at a club, but nowadays, that's like a death knell if you put a slow record on.
It's almost like you very seldom hear about it, on the radio these days. It's sad, I hate to say it. I hardly ever listen to radio because I can't stand the content of the music. It's like, where is our integrity? Hopefully it's just, it's something that will eventually, blow over, but it has to start with the record companies, and it also has to start with our people. If the people quit buying it, they'll quit making it, but it seems as if right now it's something that the consumers love.
Yep, they're going to do whatever's going to make them the most money, and it's all about that bottom line, because back then you had like a balance of hip-hop acts, R&B acts, and it's like hip-hop gotten so commercial, so big that it has engulfed R&B.
And if you're not charting, if you're not in billboards, if you don't have the ratings they're not playing it. And that's why you hear the same songs over and over and over, because that's what the people really want to hear.
That's definitely true. And now, for one quick minute, I want to go ahead and get on my political soapbox, about the controversy that's been surrounding Reverend Jeremiah Wright of Barack Obama's church. He was in Detroit, I believe, or was he in Michigan making a...
He was in Detroit this past weekend at the NAACP dinner.
Okay, I was hearing his speech. I was listening to it in its entirety, and I got the context of what he was saying, but the media, they're flipping the script, as we say, and taking 10, 15 minutes of sound bites of his sermons and making it something that it's not.
I work in the media, and I am a television producer, and I know what works and I know what doesn't work, and we have a tendency to pull out content that's going to draw people to the television. At this particular moment, I just feel that Obama is a very powerful individual. He's a powerful candidate, one that really has the possibilities of becoming our next president if the people just get out and vote. Unfortunately, the media has a tendency to put emphasis on things that could possibly hurt, things that could possibly tear down Obama. I really hate that they use Jeremiah Wright's speech to try and hurt Obama. You don't hear anything about Hillary's former pastor going to jail for child molestation.
I did not know that.
See? We don't hear nothing about that. But that's the media for you. And sometimes being a producer, you can't believe all the things that you hear. You have to hear the speech in its entirety. And I haven't really heard it all in its entirety, but I do know for a fact that those statements aren't statements that Reverend Jeremiah Wright was saying. He was really making reference to statements and things that was happening in the world. But unfortunately, the media found what I call a nugget in his particular speech, and now they're using it, against Obama. I really hate that they're pairing Obama against Reverend Wright. They're doing everything in their power to tear down Obama to make sure that he doesn't become the next president. For everybody who's in your listening audience, it's so important that you get out and register and you make it to the polls in August, because if you don't make it to the polls in August and vote for the candidate that you wish to be the president, is a great possibility that that person won't make it to the ballot in November.
So people, if you haven't registered, go get registered. It's simple as 1, 2, 3, because your voice matters, especially in this election more than ever. And also too, while I'm at it, volunteer, because the kids of today, they need volunteers with the way the school systems are and everything. I volunteer and I work with kids, and to just see, some of them in the situations that they go through on a daily basis, it's like we need more volunteers, especially from African American males.